Where do things stand with how people feel about crime right now?
Yeah, I think that Democrats have to get it around their heads that Americans are far more hawkish on crime than they think that they are. What are we talking about? Trump's net approval handling crime. Where was he last year? He was way underwater at minus 13 points views of term number one. But look at where he is now. He's on the positive side of the ledger. He's on the positive side at plus 1 point. Americans view Trump far more favorably now on crime than they did a year ago.
The Democrats have the uncanny ability of picking the wrong side on pretty much every single issue, and Donald Trump has the uncanny ability of being able to maneuver them into that position, as we've been seeing, of course, with crime in D.C. But what we're going to watch over here today is MSNBC actually realizing that, yes, the Democrats have fallen into Donald Trump's trap yet again. But before we get to these clips, don't forget to like and comment on this video so we get through the algorithms. Here we go.
I think this is about the suburbs and the rural areas against the big cities. I think Trump knows that people are afraid to go into big cities. To go to a Phillies game, they talk about it. They don't want to go downtown. They don't trust the situation. So politically, I think this strengthens his red power in the rural parts of Pennsylvania and Scranton and Bethlehem and Allentown. Those people are going to look at this headline and say, it's about time somebody's doing something about D.C. And Philly, with Krasner as our DA. You need a tougher DA. You just do. But put people in jail. And in D.C., working people are black, African-American. They're the ones getting hit by crime, not the suburbanites and not the tourists and not the people that just look at the city. Trump looks at the city visually like a real estate agent. He wants to beautify the city. But I think it shows strength. I agree with you. I think this is a strength move against the big cities who are in a difficult situation on crime. And the murder rate, you can't keep saying violent crime is down, but the murder rate's up. To the average person, the murder rate's about life and death. You don't brag about a rising murder rate. And the Democrats are, I agree with you, Mika, they're falling into the trap of defending what's indefensible.
It's a trap. Yes, it's a trap. I mean, if it's not a winner politically to say, oh, you're wrong, look at the data. Because, you know, if one violent crime happens in a very heavily populated part of the city, people hear about it and it's visceral. They don't want it. And they'll gravitate to the person who appears to be doing something about it. So the question is, politically, what should the Democrats be saying in this moment beyond, oh, no, it's not a hellscape? I mean, I don't think that's a response, actually.
I would guess there are some Washington residents, and I've talked to some Democrats and members of the press, who are taking a wait-and-see approach. If this is done peacefully, if it's done without more in partnership with the D.C. police, they'll be fine. If not, of course, they'll be fighting that bill as it goes through Congress. What have you heard?
You know, I think this is one more example of President Trump's skill at taking issue in which there is broad public agreement, like illegal immigration ought to be stopped at the southern border, or the sentiment that men should not participate in women's sports, and now standing against crime. There are very few politicians who want to stand up for crime. Now, so it sets a kind of trap for Democrats, because they can say, if Trump says, I'm going to make the capital city safe, everybody's for that. And if Democrats say, well, look, it's at a 30-year low last year, it's declined even more this year, this is not the national emergency it portrays it as being, seems as though they are not taking a tough stance on crime. So I think this has been very tricky for Democrats. And as one result, you see some Democrats, including the leadership of the city, protesting that this federalized takeover of law enforcement in Washington is a bad thing and inappropriate and unnecessary. A lot of Democrats are just going to wait and see, because they're concerned about getting kind of caught in a political trap that the president has set for them.
Look at these numbers from a Washington Post poll that came out just a month or two ago, and it shows that 91% of people who live in Washington, D.C., believe the problem of crime in Washington, D.C. is serious. 50% think it's extremely or very serious. Only 7% say it's not serious at all. And then I want you to look at this quote about the people who think it is the most serious problem of all. there are stark divides along lines of race and income in the poll, with black residents and lower income residents significantly more worried about crime than white residents and those with higher incomes. As they were last year, black women are among the most concerned, with 65% saying crime is a very or extremely serious issue, compared with 82% who said the same last year. Rev, I just bring this up just to say there are a lot of, I'll just say it, white progressives who you've talked about and I've talked about, who sometimes think they're trying to help certain segments of the society, and they have no idea where they are. Well, right now in Washington, D.C., black women especially are deeply concerned about crime in their city. And I think it would behoove the Democratic Party to figure out how to build a partnership with the president, with the mayor, to make Washington a more secure city for the 91% of Washington residents who are saying today that crime is a serious problem.
Well, it goes to the situation and problem that I've said to you, and you and I have discussed before, that people are talking for people they're not talking to. There is a concern among many blacks, if not most, and many residents in Washington, D.C. about crime. But the question becomes how Trump is handling it. I think the problem is not that there's an argument about we need to deal with crime. Even though the data says it's going down, the perception and the reality is there. The question is, Donald Trump, the only convicted felon to ever sit in the White House, by the way, he just came in, said I'm taking over, and then announced I'm going to other cities, all of whom have black mayors: Los Angeles, Oakland, Chicago, New York. I'm going after all these cities, not one Republican city, not one white mayor. So for people to suspect him and his motives and the way he does it is the problem.
I find that last bit with Al Sharpton extremely entertaining, because he's basically admitting that, yes, Donald Trump is doing what people want. He's just doing it the wrong way, right? We heard this same argument when Doge was out there. We've heard this same argument about illegal immigration, right? He's doing what people want. He's just messing it up because he's so hard-handed. He's so heavy-fisted. Oh, everything is breaking down. But he's doing what people want, and that's what the Democrats don't recognize. And guess who else wants this, Al Sharpton? It's the black women who in their everyday lives are seeing the crime and saying, yeah, this is actually a really big concern. And what is Al Sharpton's response to all of this? Yes, it's really bad out there, and we recognize this, but Donald Trump is in fact a convicted criminal, and of course he's a racist. Right? That's all Al Sharpton's got, because for all of his life, he has been a race grifter, okay? And he's going to go back to that every single time, despite what the numbers say. And of course, since the start of the whole DC takeover, the left has been saying this isn't warranted because the numbers are showing that crime is actually falling. But Chris Matthews makes the great point. Yeah, when your murders are on the rise, or your homicides, whatever it happens to be, that's not a good look. And it's definitely not a good argument, and it's not going to win you any points. Because once again, just like under Joe Biden, the left is saying everything's fine out there. You just aren't smart enough to realize it. And this is the trap that Donald Trump has laid and is being recognized over here on MSNBC. Because if the Democrats follow that line of reasoning, they're basically saying, yeah, we're ignoring you once again, and crime is totally fine for those of you who are actually complaining about it. But on the other hand, there's no way they can come out in support of Donald Trump, because then you're actually supporting Donald Trump. And you can't have that now, can you? So thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe, and say hi to your mom for me. Do you like t-shirts? Of course you do. And now you can support the channel by buying an Angry Teacher t-shirt designed by me, Angry Teacher. So if you like America, if you like freedom, if you like liberty, then go ahead and click the link in the description, where all designs, of course, are 100% mother approved. So enjoy yourself and find something you like today.